Okay, guys, we're getting ready to make some white gravy that goes on biscuits. This is not something that I would want to eat every day like people used to. I have gotten out of the habit of eating gravy for years, probably 20 years or more. It's like when I eat it now, it's like a treat, because I got out of eating all that stuff when I had gallbladder problems and all that greasy food and things like that. It bothered me. I had stomach ulcers and things really bad. So I tend to watch some things. I don't eat a lot of real greasy foods anymore. But anyway, this is just something that my grandparents had this every day of their life until they passed away. And my grandpa was 72 and my granny was 85. About the last 10 or 12 years she lived, she didn't eat that stuff because it was just her. My grandpa had passed away and she lived by herself. So she just ate cornflakes or, piece of toast. She ate different then because she didn't have all those people to cook for. And my granny cooked for a lot of people. She raised 2 or 3 sets of kids and her own family. And she was a good old soul, my Granny Bice. I love her and I miss her every single day. And she was just a good person. But anyway, let's get started making some white gravy to go over those big cat head biscuits you just made. Okay. You can use self-rising flour for this. I've always used self-rising my whole life. I've never used just plain flour. Self-rising works fine. Always wash your hands good, guys, before you start cooking. That's just a given. Anytime you cook, doesn't matter what you're cooking. Keep your hands washed. Keep your hands clean. Don't be dirty. But don't go crazy either. Don't act silly about stuff. The people are cooking for their families when they make videos usually. So just don't be crazy about stuff. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure some oil and put it in. Now, normally I never measure. I pour some oil in. I add flour. If I get too much flour, I add just a tad bit more oil. You can always, work things out. Add a little more flour, add a little less flour. It's kind of common sense. Cooking is kind of common sense. But anyway, I'm going to measure my oil out here, and this is going to be a learning experience for me having to measure it out because I've never measured it in my life. Okay, now first thing, let me turn you around here where you can see what I'm doing. Let me get you just a little closer, and I'm going to crank you down just a tad, okay? Now, I'm going to start out by putting a 1/3 cup of oil in here, just based on about what I know. I'm going to see if I can make that into gravy, okay? Because I don't need much, because it's just for Evan this morning. And last time I made it, I took my neighbors over here that are 92. Each one of them are 92. Ted and Mary Alice. I took them some gravy and biscuit, and they were tickled. Of course, they grew up on gravy and biscuit. Let me get my dish towel over here, guys. Okay, now, turn your stove on high till your oil gets hot. You want your oil good and hot when you put it in. Then you want to turn it down a little bit because this will brown quickly. It will brown quickly. And you don't want to let it burn. Go ahead while that's warming up and measure out your milk. Now I've got 1 cup here. And I'm going to put a 1/2 cup. Because you want some water in it. You don't want it all milk. Okay, just a second, guys. There's a 1/2 cup of water. Okay. Now, let me set this right here. Let me get my spoon out here, guys. Oops, that's not my gravy spoon. I've got a spoon that I make gravy out of. My mom gave me this spoon years, and probably 45, 50 years ago when I first married. And I've still got this old spoon. And it has been through the ringer, guys. Okay. Now, we've got our milk setting over here. You got to have salt, so get your salt out. I always just keep my box salt up in the cupboard. So I just kind of moved y'all around a little bit. And I set it right here. And I never measure salt. I just put a little bit in it, taste it, and if it needs more salt, you can put it in after you pour it in the bowl. Just put a little salt in it and stir it up. It's fine. Won't hurt it. Let me see if I can get any more oil out of this. There's a little bit. Okay, now what I do is I'll put just a tiny bit of flour in there. Can you see that's not, the flour is not sizzling yet. See when I put it in, how it just sits there? Can you see that? It just kind of sits there right now. Now it's starting to sizzle just a little bit. You want it to sizzle pretty good. Okay, it's starting to sizzle. So now my spoon, I'm going to put, see what I'm doing? You're going to need about 1.5 of those. Stir it around and see if it, okay, now turn it down just about to medium heat. Okay, I can kind of tell that probably needs, let me scoot this over. Get you over here just a little closer. Whoops, sorry guys. I'm trying to do this so you all can see. You can probably see that needs just a little bit more flour. That's too soupy. So I'm going to get me another little, probably about 2 tablespoons of flour is what you need here. Probably so. Best I can. So you need 2 big tablespoons of flour for 1/3 cup oil. And you need 1.5 cups of milk and 1/2 cup of water. Now we're going to cook this until that starts to brown a little bit. But right now we're going to put in just a little bit of salt. So you watch me here. I'm going to, right there is what I put in. That's all I'm going to put in right now. And I'm going to put just a little bit of pepper. Sorry. Just a little bit of pepper, not much. You want a little pepper in it though. I'm going to turn my heat back up just a tad because it's not cooking quick enough. You want it to cook high enough that all the grease is boiling. And you stir this the whole time, guys. You might do like this for just a second or two, but you can't walk away from it at all. See, it's boiling pretty good now all over the... Let me scoop my flour over just a little bit here. I don't want to get liquid in it. Okay. And you can see when you do this, that the bottom of the pan is starting to tan. The gravy is getting darker, okay? But you want that flour to cook good, okay? Now we're going to let it cook just a little bit more. Can you tell the difference in how the gravy looks? Okay, right here you can see. See how that looks darker? Okay, now you need to turn it down this way. And sometimes I'll lift my skillet up off to take it off the heat because that's dark enough right there. See how dark that is? Okay, now I'll kind of set it off the heat there while I do this. So now you pour in your milk. Then set the bowl back down, then put this back over the burner. Now, this is what I do. I will always keep just a little bit of water. I get my measuring cup here with a 1/3 cup in it, and I set it down there. If this is looking like it's too thick right now, I'm going to put a little in it. And I will adjust the amount of water in the recipe because I don't ever do this. I never measure. So this is hard for me because at home when I used to cook for my kids and things all the time, I had a specific bowl and a specific skillet that I always cooked in. And I knew exactly how much to put in it, how much flour to use, how much oil to use. You know, I could just tell by pouring it out. But looks like it's going to be okay, just like this. And once it starts boiling pretty good, it's done. You don't have to cook it for a long time. But you want to cook it, really stir it when you first put it in. Because if you don't, it's going to be lumpy. Okay, this is plenty. I don't really think it needs any water, but we'll see here because it will thicken up more. Maybe just a tad. So instead of a half cup of water, you'll add 2/3 cup water. That makes it just about right. Okay, now just turn your stove off because it's pretty much done. If you like sausage in your gravy, then, cook some sausage and crumble it up and have it ready. And then just put your flour in on top of it if you like sausage gravy, which I've made sausage gravy a lot. You don't have to rinse out your bowl or anything like that. You just pour your gravy back in that bowl. And now you got a good bowl of gravy. So now, let me get this is hard to do. So now you know how to make white gravy. It's not hard. It's not really hard. It takes a little bit of practice and learning how to do it and kind of getting your measurements ready. But I will put a recipe on there for just what I just did, okay? So I will be back in just a little bit. Okay, here is the connoisseur of the gravy. And he has him a big plate of gravy and biscuit. Wow. Take a bite, Evan. Tell him what you think about it. Good, huh? Evan says it's good gravy and biscuit this morning. You all fix you a bowl of gravy and biscuit. Yummy, yummy, yummy. We will talk to you all soon. Bye.